This is the Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. Episode 54, recorded April 28th, 2016. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. My name is Tyson Gifford, and I am your host for the evening. Joining me today, as always, is Will Roehrig.
Hello.
So today we're just going to kind of do a quick show because we're at this weird transition point in our shows where there's not much on that we're watching that's really interesting to talk about, except shows that we have separate shows for. So, of course, we're watching Game of Thrones, but we have a whole other show for Game of Thrones. And, of course, we're watching all these, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Flash and Arrow and all that stuff. We have a whole other show for that. So there's not much that we're kind of actively watching that's really interesting to talk about, that isn't already taken up by one of those shows. We also recently launched a new show, and because of that, we can't really talk about some of the news that's been going on without being kind of redundant. So, what we're going to do this week is we're going to talk a little bit about one of the news stories. I'm going to catch us up on some of the new shows that have been coming out in the last couple weeks and talk about some of that what's been going on, because I've been watching some of those. And then we're going to announce a show that Will and I are going to pick up and start watching week to week, one episode a week, so we have something concrete to talk about no matter what. We don't want to be stuck in this situation again. So, our apologies for having a boring show this week, if that's what it turns out to be. We're going to try to curb that tonight, though. So, first off, let's talk a little bit about Twin Peaks. So this is the one news story we're going to go into. Twin Peaks, they just announced the cast list for this show. It's massive. I mean, looking at the cast list, I'm like, can all those people even be residing in Twin Peaks?
217, right?
Yes, 217 people. Almost everybody from the original cast, and just tons more.
Well, I mean, 217 people can easily be residing in Twin Peaks. I mean, that's not even like...
It's like we're meeting every citizen of the town.
That barely qualifies as a small town, actually.
I'm just like, wow, I mean, going over this list, it's kind of just amazing. I mean, it's not just the number, too. I mean, this is like, remember when Wet Hot American Summer was announced on Netflix, and we had all of these returning people that, since the movie, had become, some of them even A-list actors, like Paul Rudd and Bradley Cooper, that were kind of nobody at that time, and then now they're like huge names. And then just lots of other people that were just busy with all sorts of different other projects. And then it was like, wow, they were able to get all these people together. And then on top of that, they brought in tons more, including like Michael Cera and Jason Schwartzman, that showed up in the Netflix prequel series. So this is kind of like that, but even more so, because the people that have turned up for this, it's pretty insane. I mean, just going alphabetically down the list, I'm not going to read every name, obviously, but Monica Bellucci, the Italian actress and model, probably might remember her from the Matrix Reloaded. She's been in a bunch of other stuff, though. But also Jim Belushi. Where has he been? He's been kind of like out of the scene for 20 years now, right?
Right, yeah, I don't know if I don't think he's been out of the scene for 20 years, but yeah, he hasn't been in much of anything for a long time.
Coming out of the woodworks for Twin Peaks.
Jesse Eisenberg is in this, hot off his Lex Luthor.
Will's kidding there. Although that kind of wouldn't surprise me too much. You know what the one thing is when I went over this list, looking at all the names, the kind of actors that are showing up in this, the name I kept going back to looking and saying like, no, he's got to be in this because of the people that are in it, was Bruce Campbell. I'm like, where's Bruce Campbell?
Oh,
he's got to be showing up. I'm looking at the names of the people showing up in this, and I'm like, Bruce Campbell has to be one of them.
Yeah,
but he's not. He's like the one person that like probably should be in this that isn't.
Has Bruce Campbell ever been in anything David Lynch has ever done? I don't think so, no. So,
but Ted Raimi was in the first Twin Peaks series.
That's right, Ted Raimi was in the first Twin Peaks series. Weird. And David Lynch is going to be in this.
Yes, and there's some other Lynches too. I think that's his daughter is going to be in it, who's also a director.
So the head of the FBI, or like
the Hard of Hearing, yeah,
the Hard of Hearing, he's going to return.
I mentioned Michael Cera for Wet Hot American Summer. He's also in Twin Peaks.
Michael Cera was in Wet Hot. Then I didn't finish the first season of that. So.
Oh, you didn't? Probably. He was like a lawyer.
Okay. I think I watched like 4 episodes in, so I don't think he showed up yet. You should have
seen him by then, I think.
I don't remember.
He had a kind of small role.
Let's see. Yeah, like I'm looking at the list now of like who's in this, trying to see who jumps up. David Duchovny's back in this.
He played a transgendered FBI agent in the original series. This is before X-Files.
This is before pre-X-Files. David Duchovny, that's pretty, that was like pretty groundbreaking at the time too,
Yeah. Let's see here. Robert Forster.
Jennifer Jason Leigh is in this.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Ashley Judd. We're seeing some people who have been in David Lynch's films come back for this. So David Lynch is definitely like picking from picking from people he's cast before in his films too. Like Ashley Judd, Naomi Watts is in this.
Yeah. So Will, who are you gonna call?
Ghostbusters?
Ernie Hudson.
Oh, yeah, haha. Ernie Hudson. Nice. One of the 4 Ghostbusters is in this.
Robert Knepper. Oh, Matthew Lillard. Yeah, he was in Scream. He was also in, what's it called? The Scooby-Doo movies. He played Shaggy.
What? Yeah, Scooby-Doo. Yeah, Shaggy's gonna be in this. Velma and Daphne.
Robert Knepper is in this. He was in Prison Break.
A lot of these names I don't recognize, like Pierce Gagnon. Who the hell is that? I don't know.
Some people you're not going to recognize. There's like some musicians and other stuff there too. So Robert Knepper, he's pretty much in anything genre. If they need like some creepy character, he'll show up.
No David Bowie, sad face.
That's unfortunate.
His
actress who played Log Lady, who died last year. David Bowie died this year.
David Bowie's like totally random appearance in the Twin Peaks film that like had no, like, watching the movie still couldn't explain what the hell he was doing there, what that was about.
That's some of the best David Bowie appearances he's had, though. Like, he was in, what was that movie, the Christopher Nolan one, Prestige, as Nikola Tesla?
Yep.
And it's just some of his coolest appearances are these kind of like, what the hell? Like, out of nowhere kind of. Josh McDermott from The Walking Dead. That's Eugene, the guy with the mullet.
Oh, nice.
There's 3 Lynches in here. It looks David Lynch, Riley Lynch, and Shane Lynch. Who else? I'm going through some of this list here. Oh, Trent Reznor and Mary Queen Reznor. Trent Reznor, of course, is the front man and kind of the only man on the writing side of Nine Inch Nails. His wife, Mary Queen Reznor, is also going to be in this Twin Peaks. They have a band together called How to Destroy Angels.
Nice. Yeah, Trent Reznor, you might know him from a little band called Nine Inch Nails, a little indie rock band.
Yeah. And from doing the music for that art house film, The Social Network.
Also, I don't know if you know this, but one of Trent Reznor's favorite games was Luigi's Mansion.
I didn't know that, but I know he did like all the sound effects and stuff for Quake.
Oh, really? Yeah, I was watching like some interview with him. This was years and years ago when GameCube was like still a thing. So it's like they were talking to Trent Reznor, and he pulls out this freaking GameCube, and then he starts talking about how Luigi's Mansion is like his favorite game, and I'm like, that's crazy.
Tim Roth is in this. You know him from Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. He's been in a lot of the Quentin Tarantino type stuff. He was also in, what was that movie called? 4 Rooms. That was done by Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez.
Yep.
Amanda Seyfried from Veronica Mars. That was her Veronica's friend Lily, who died. That like the whole mystery was about her in the first season.
Yep.
Tom Sizemore. Yeah, just a lot of kind of crazy names. Eddie Vedder.
I know.
Pearl Jam.
Trent Reznor and Eddie Vedder in like the same movie. It's like, is in the same show? It's like, is this a TV series or is this Woodstock?
Charlene Yee is in this. I didn't even notice that before.
Who?
She's she used to date Michael Cera, so that's probably why she's in it. She's connected to him. You'd probably recognize her from, the best thing I could bring up is she was the Asian girl with the short hair in Love on Netflix. That was like one of his friends that would come over and do the songs.
Yeah, that random person that shows up in like random stuff. She was also like in something else I watched very recently. I can't freaking remember it. And I just thought that's random. She was just in Love. It's like, okay.
Yeah, she's one of those kind of performers that just pops up in little small roles usually. But yeah, so she's in it. Lots of people. I mean, this is pretty crazy. It's coming, you know. I mean, they finished filming they finished. It's all a matter of post-production now. It's coming out in 2017. It was originally supposed to come out this year. It got delayed. That was probably had to do with the contract negotiations where Lynch was all like, "Oh, I'm not going to be involved in this series," and now he is again. And he filmed every episode. So, yeah, that's kind of exciting and kind of crazy. That's the kind of crazy news we wanted to talk about. Now that we're through that, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the shows I've been watching in the past week, new shows that have kind of been coming out and stuff. So, I checked out Silicon Valley, the new season 3, because it airs, it's on at the same time as Game of Thrones. Like Game of Thrones comes on, Silicon Valley comes on right after it. So Silicon Valley continues to be really funny. It's a really smart inside show about Silicon Valley. It's like, how else do I put this? Well, I guess Silicon Valley. Everybody knows what that is. Time Traveling Bong. This is a 3-part series that started on April 20th. Of course, 420. So of course they're going to do something like that. But instead of airing week to week, it just aired 3 days in a row. This is actually pretty funny. I jokingly talked about it in our last podcast because we were talking about time travel, and I brought it up as an example of a show that has been handling time travel better than The Flash or Legends of Tomorrow, even though it's kind of a ridiculous comedy. So when I was talking about that, I had just seen the first episode. I think the highlight of the series might be the second episode, in which the two cousin characters first they have sex with each other in an orgy without realizing it. And then they end up in the 60s, and they abduct a child Michael Jackson. And their plan is to stop him from having a horrible childhood so that he doesn't end up.
Yeah.
But they end up kind of like creating the Michael Jackson that we know. That's hilarious. Like they went and they approached him in disguises, and after they abduct him, they said, let's talk in private so we can figure out what we're gonna do. And they're talking, and they come back in, and he's wearing parts of their disguise, including a single glove and long hair. Like you can see all the building blocks of who he is, you know, and it was really funny. Like when they ended up saying like, oh, we have to return him. We don't know what we're doing with this, you know? And so they return him, and they said, well, we hope at least you learned something from all of this. And he's all, oh, I did. I learned it's okay to abduct young children. So that was Time Traveling Bong. Really funny show. The Night Manager. It's got 2 episodes out right now so far. It's already aired in its completion in the UK. But this is Hugh Laurie from House and Tom Middleston from I might be saying that wrong, who played Loki in the Avengers and Thor. And
Tom
yeah, Hiddleston, that's it. And Hiddleston plays a like former kind of he used to be in the service in the British Royal Army, I think, and but he works at a hotel in Egypt, and he's the night manager for this hotel. And he ends up having this guest come by that asks him to like take these files, make copies of them, and store them in his safe in case anything happens to her. And while he's making the copies, he kind of looks at the files and sees stuff like napalm and mustard gas. It's like an order receipt for this guy in Egypt for this like kind of huge family. And he's like, okay, this isn't right. So he has a friend at the Egyptian embassy, or the British embassy in Egypt, and he gives it to him, and it just causes all these problems and stuff. And the guy that's the arms dealer is played by Hugh Laurie, who plays House. And it's kind of setting up this kind of battle between the two of them. Like where he's getting kind of, he's former military, Hiddleston's character is former military, but he's not involved in this stuff, but he's getting drawn into it anyways. And then you have this arms dealer. And, that's what that's about. So that's The Night Manager. It's on AMC. I've been watching Banshee, which is on its 4th and final season. Guess who just showed up on that episode? Guess what guest star just showed up?
Who showed up?
Elijah Dushku.
You serious? Awesome.
She plays an FBI agent who smokes crack.
An FBI agent smokes crack. That's hilarious.
So yeah, Banshee is a really good, fun show. Highly recommend it to anybody that likes good kind of action shows. Yeah, it's a pretty smart, good, fun action series. Really heightened. And Elijah Dushku just kind of fits right in. It's nice to see her doing something that's just not god awful. She hasn't done much that's good in a long time.
I don't even know what the hell she's done, like, since Dollhouse.
Yeah, even Dollhouse was the result of her talking to Joss Whedon about how she was only doing god awful shows.
Yeah, and Joss Whedon's like, I have a show for you. It turned out to not be Joss Whedon's best work either.
Yeah. Well, she kind of fits in Banshee. It kind of works. Then I've been watching The Detour. Have you heard about this show on TBS?
Detour. It sounds familiar. I can't remember what that's about.
It's kind of like Vacation, like National Lampoon's Vacation. It's this family and they're on this kind of road trip and just things are just going horribly wrong one after another. And it's really funny because it's just this family just going through hell. And the father is like, he's lost his job, but he's not telling his family that. And they're on their way they're taking this road trip to, I think it's Florida. I'm trying to remember. That's where his work is having this convention. And he's basically trying to get his job back without his family knowing that he's even lost it in the first place. And so they're going on this trip and things just keep going really horribly wrong. And it's really funny. If you like Vacation, it's right up that alley. It's kind of like the same kind of show.
Oh, that's cool. I do like the concept of road trips gone wrong. In a funny manner.
So, yeah, it's really funny. It has a heavy Vacation vibe to it. Yeah, and so that's kind of what I've been watching besides our main topics that we discuss on other shows, as we said. Besides that, I finished Kimmy Schmidt, watching a few other things here and there, but nothing that's really that great to talk about. So lastly, we're going to wrap up. This is going to be a very short podcast. So we're just going to wrap up by saying, in order to kind of give us something more solid to talk about week to week, Will and I have decided that we are going to be watching a TV series that neither of us have seen yet, called Peaky Blinders. It's all available on Netflix. If you want to watch along with us, this would be kind of fun. You can join us. We're going to be watching one episode a week. We're going to take it real slow and just go through the whole thing, one week at a time. So, yeah, check that out. Peaky Blinders on Netflix. That is what we are going to be watching. So next week, we're going to have something more significant to talk about on the show. Until then, I'm sorry about the short podcast, but check out all of our content. Find out why our podcast is shorter, because we've been spreading ourselves thin with all of our new shows on here. So check out our Game of Thrones show, which we do every Sunday. No, not Sunday. Game of Thrones airs on Sunday. We do every Monday. It should go up on Tuesdays is when it should be available. Same thing for the comic book show where we talk about Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Flash, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, anything else. If there's a Netflix Marvel show that pops up, we'll talk about that as well. Agent Carter we talked about when that was on. Anything that's kind of in those connected universes, we talk about on that show. And we have a news show called The Week's News, which I record every Friday, and it goes up on Friday as well. And that's where I talk about the news, what's happened in the last week, and try to keep it short down to about 4 to 5 minutes. So you can check that out. I'll go over the Twin Peaks thing again a little bit. But yeah, that's it for this week. Very shortened podcast. Thank you everybody for listening. I was your host, Tyson Gifford, and joining me today, as always, was Will.
Hello.
Thank you everybody. Night.
Night.
If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@TVEnthusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more coverage of all